Our next presentation is from Carolyn Wilkes from the eSafety Commissioner's Office. Carolyn is Manager of the Gender and Tech team at eSafety's Education, Prevention and Inclusion branch. The team works to encourage the prevention of tech-facilitated gender-based violence and building safe, inclusive and gender-equal online spaces. In 10 years prior to joining eSafety, Carolyn worked within the Federal Department of Social Services on a range of policy and program areas, and other roles have been in local government, community development, and in the non-government sector. Yes, I was going to say we could share presentations. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for joining us today. I'll hand over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Alicia, and thank you, Alicia and Mike, for inviting us to participate. I've got two other team members are also part of the forum today. So Mike's handling my presentation because I couldn't work out how I could today to share it. But if you go to the next slide, please, Mike, and I'll get started. Yeah. So I'd like to begin by sharing my appreciation and respect for the traditional owners on the country that I'm joining from today, the Ngunnawal and the Ngambri people, and on their unceded lands. First Nations women and children have been disproportionately affected by gender-based violence, and they've also been, particularly First Nations women, at the forefront of working for change. So I'd like to express my thanks for all that they do and to pay my respects to elders of the past for the legacy that they have left, the elders of the present who are leading the way, and the elders of the future. May we help them with the tasks ahead. If you could move to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay. So for those of you that don't know, and I will try and keep this presentation as quick as I can, eSafety is Australia's national online safety regulator. We're the first of its kind in the world, and we lead, coordinate and advise across government on a range of online safety issues to ensure all Australians have safer and more positive experiences online. So in this presentation, I'll explore what eSafety offers to address tech-facilitated sexual harassment in the workplace, but also talk about what we're yet to do. Again, next slide. So eSafety began as the Children's eSafety Commissioner in 2015 with a focus on dealing with child cyberbullying and illegal and harmful content. In 2017, that remit was expanded to cover all Australians and a range of new schemes. And then in 2022, the Online Safety Act expanded those powers again. So we are a bridge we bridge that inherent power gap between big tech and Australian users, and encouraging platforms and service providers to do more when it comes to protecting people from online harms. We also perform an educative function with our outreach program, webinars, live seminars, and other online resources that are tailored to specific audiences to reach our most at-risk communities and deal with emerging issues. And that's where my team is involved as part of Gender and Tech. The next slide, thanks. So the model that we have rests on three pillars, which we call the 3 Ps. That's prevention through research, education, outreach and training programs, through protection, which is our 4 reporting and investigative schemes, and then through proactive and systemic change, where we push the tech industry to build safety into their products from the ground up. Our approach has evolved over time, not only to keep pace with technology, but also with the ways people use it and misuse it. And I'll skip to the next one. So, oh, no, back one. Prevention. Yeah, that's the one. So this slide, well, I'll take you through the details of this, but I just was going to give some more context in that over the last few years, the team that I lead has done a lot of work in domestic and family violence and tech-facilitated abuse associated with that. And also a Women in the Spotlight program, which was particularly focused at the start on high-profile women who were attracting, through no fault of their own, abuse, online abuse and harassment due to their role. What we've been doing over the last year or two, and we're planning to do more of it, is expand our offerings and resources across workplaces more generally to help address gender-based violence in the workplace. So that's just to give you a bit more context, but also to say, particularly in a space like we're talking about today in retail, it's a new space for us. So we'll tell you what we've got, but we're also very open to ideas and discussions today or into the future about what else we could be doing. So just giving you that context. So I'll take you through each of these safe work resources, journalism, etc. So I'll move on to the next slide. So a couple of years ago, our team worked with Safe Work Australia to develop a few fact sheets focused on online safety in the workplace. So there's one for employers and one for employees. So that was done before the Respect at Work reports and the changed legislation. So we're in the process of working with Safe Work Australia to just update those to reflect the new expectations around employers preventing sexual harassment in the workplace. But they are there at the moment and have good information on them about online safety. We also developed with the ABC some resources around supporting journalists and preventing online harassment of journalists. And again, we have fact sheets and information there focused on for journalists themselves and for employers and organisations that employ journalists. Once again, we're looking at reviewing that content, or in the process of doing that, to just make sure it's up to date in terms of legislative requirements and the positive duty on employers. Next one, please, Mike. Okay. As I mentioned before, we've had for a few years now a Women in the Spotlight program that, again, was partly inspired by the experience of our Commissioner, Julian Mangrant, who is a target for a lot of online abuse and worse and that got particularly heated over the last few months. But we do have a range of videos and online resources to support women who have an online presence as part of their professional or community role. Move on to the next one. Yeah. A large or a big part of that program is what's called social media self-defense training. And we offer that to as part of our broader training offerings at eSafety. But it's a process that goes, it's a session that takes you through what gender-based violence using technology looks like, some of the examples, ways that women and others targeted by gender-based violence can increase their safety online, but also other issues around resilience and supporting each other. What we've increasingly developed is strategies like on this slide, where we're encouraging workplaces and employers to think more about how they can improve the safety of their employees and users of their services. Though anyone wanting to access social media self-defense training can just reach out to our outreach at esafety.gov.au and make an inquiry about having a virtual training session on social media self-defense. Next slide. It's just a slide giving you an example of the audiences for social media self-defense in just this year alone. In the past, there have also been small business owners. Just trying to think, we've got sports in there, local government. It doesn't matter who it is. We are able to provide those social media self-defense sessions, and the training team work hard to make sure that the content of that session is very relevant to the particular audience. So again, you can reach out to get those sessions organised. And the next one. To supplement that training, we do have a video library to explain how to use different online systems and apps just to help protect your safety online, security and privacy. etc. And yeah, that's fine. As I said before, we have done a lot of work since 2015, I believe, in tech-based domestic and family violence work. A large amount of that has been focused on frontline workers, such as domestic and family violence specialists, police, health workers, etc. Anybody who is likely to be helping someone who's a victim of tech-facilitated abuse in domestic and family and sexual violence situations. So we have guides and toolkits on our websites, information about counselling services, etc. We also have training available. I might be jumping ahead there, for frontline workers. Yes. The other part of the work, as I said back with one of our pillars, is protection through our regulatory schemes. So we have 4 reporting schemes or complaint schemes: child cyberbullying for under 18s, adult cyber abuse, which is to look at serious online harms, image-based abuse, and the illegal and restricted content. So that latter one relates to videos and content relating to terrorism, child sex abuse, severe violence online, etc., and was the subject of recent legal cases with X. The next slide, please. So reporting to eSafety for any of those schemes, the ones most likely for you to come across in work-related situations are the adult cyber abuse or the image-based abuse schemes. There is quite a lot of information on our website about which form and what is covered under which scheme. So if you're interested, please have an explore there. There's some information there about how you report to the eSafety website and how that process happens. But just in the interest of time, I will move along. And the thing that we also wanted to talk to you about is that proactive and systemic change through safety by design. So safety by design is an initiative developed a number of years ago. It's very strongly advocated for by our commissioner. And basically, it's about designing right from the start to take into account the risks to groups such as women, culturally diverse, LGBTQI+, people that are more likely to be targets of online abuse and harassment, but making sure that the safety by design approach is taken so those things are anticipated and designed for rather than responding after the fact. So this is something that has been mostly focused on tech companies, startups, etc. It's when they're designing technology, but we're trying to encourage it as a more general approach so that for organizations that use any tech in their systems, which is pretty much any tech, and it includes messaging mechanisms within workplaces, thinking about how they can screen out, design out opportunities for sexual harassment within the workplace is one of the things that we're trying to encourage. We recently had a roundtable that was releasing research in this space of sexual harassment using technology, and one of the key recommendations was the use of safety by design as an approach. Next slide, please, Mike. The Safety by Design initiative includes a number of toolkits and assessment tools that are available on our website. They provide tailored reports when you go through those toolkits. Again, it was designed for tech companies, but we believe it has a lot more application for use in workplaces and using systems. And the next slide. Some of the examples of where safety by design has been effectively used, or there's been the financial services in Australia have been good in this space with NAB and Commonwealth, responding to an awareness that abusers were sending abusive and threatening messages to former partners through micropayments. So they could put, as little as 1 or 5 cents through a transaction, but use the information, the ability to put information in that transaction to send through abusive or threatening messages. So the banks have developed AI and other systems that identify those messages coming through. But beyond that, they've also developed policies so that people can lose their accounts, have their accounts closed if they're found to be using these systems to abuse and harass. So safety by design, in some ways after the fact, what we'd like to see is more of the designing being anticipated. A lot of that could be improved by having a more diverse range of people involved in the design of these systems. We suspect if we have more diversity and inclusion within those organisations, we're likely to get some better results. Apple and Google smartphones, are now enabled to detect and alert their owners if an unknown Apple AirTag. I discovered that myself recently when borrowing my sister-in-law's car, and she had an Apple AirTag on the key ring, so my phone kept telling me that there was an unknown AirTag nearby. It's a first-hand experience.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Carolyn. That was fantastic. I did put in the chat mention that some of the content you were saying there was really relevant to workplaces with contact centres, but I wanted to highlight for the audience some of the work that we've been privy to with very large, an example of a very large retailer that isn't in the tech space, when they looked at sexual harassment, found that 15% of the incidents that were occurring were tech facilitated. They were staff using mobile phones, WhatsApp groups, social media, distributing images, intimate imagery, etc. So it's not just, I guess, tech companies that can put in measures to prevent this sort of thing happening, and we'll find that it is actually occurring in their spaces as well.